This is what was initially started off as a T198E1, or is commonly referred to as the M52 Self-Propelled Howitzer. Started in production about 1951, was entered into service in 1955, and went out of service about 1963 when replaced by the M108. This essentially grabs the hull of an M41 Walker Bulldog. We spin it around, so instead of the drive sprocket being at the back, it's now at the front. So with this particular model, they come out in an early and a late. The early starting from serial number 3 up to about 344, and the late from about 345 up to about 588. So it did have a number of changes within those two early and late models. First one, starting at the front, really easy one to tell the difference. They just changed the configuration of the headlight cluster. The driver's console, the back of the vehicle also changed between early and late. This is serial number 188. This went into rebuild in 1966, so obviously 3 years after they went out of service. So I think this one went into rebuild to be sold for foreign military sales, because the Jordanians also use these vehicles. It has standard M41 Walker Bulldog running gear, so we have torsion bar suspension, guide rollers along the top. The idler at the back is where we adjust the track tension. Because these vehicles sat back from the forward edge of the battle area, it's only lightly armoured, so we've only got a maximum of about 13 millimetres of armour all the way around on the hull and on the turret. At the back of the vehicle, this is where a couple of differences between early and late kicked on. Up to serial number 160, on the left-hand side, we have these two doors here. Now, to open these doors, you have to open up the top door first and then drop the bottom. From 160 onwards, it just had it so we could literally open these two and drop the back door. Also up to serial number 160 was this ladder. Now, as I said, this is serial number 188. So this has seen some modifications along the way. This big door here can drop down, and this is where the majority of the ammunition is held. Inside the vehicle is a crew of 5, so driver, gunner, assistant gunner, cannoneer, and the commander. And the rest of the crew, because there's a total crew of 8, travel in another vehicle behind. This is probably one of the very few vehicles in the armoured vehicle family that you would see the driver has his head out of the turret rather than the hull. So he sits in this position here. The steering bar itself is a late variant. The early variant had a more curved steering bar. And this comes all the way down and then goes to the steering mechanism at the front of the vehicle. The auxiliary generator that we'd see on a Walker Bulldog was taken out of this one, but the controls still remained in place. A 105mm M49 self-propelled gun. It's fired with a lanyard inside the vehicle. Planning range of about 11,200 metres. Now this fires the same ammunition as what your M101s, your M2A2s would have. The gunner's position. He has essentially two different sights. The T149 panoramic sight, which is sitting here, would be his primary sight when shooting indirect. Coupled with that was his M100 or his T150 sight, which was a direct fire sight. Now this had a tube that went straight through. There's a trunnion just there, and that was coupled with the M23 direct fire sight. So you could actually shoot direct at targets, and in the manual it actually says you can shoot at moving targets as well, depending on the speed. We can shoot below horizontal, so -10 degrees, and we can go up to plus 65 degrees in elevation. We've got 60 degrees left and right, so it's quite a wide field of view compared to most other self-propelled guns. Are usually at about 30 degrees. The back right-hand corner is where the commander sits. He has a 50 caliber machine gun, and that has 360 degree traverse all the way around, so that's your local protection. And then on this side is where you would have your assistant gunner and a cannoneer, essentially a loader. This is the carousel, which holds 21 rounds. There's another plate just here which holds the ready round. Now these little pieces here, like a plunger I suppose, so the round actually sits on them. When you take the round out, it lifts up and the carousel can actually turn. This is in the early variant. In the later variant, there was a foot pedal down by the cannoneer's foot here. He could press on that and the carousel could rotate. And then the rest of your rounds, so 102 in total, are all kept in this lower portion of the hull. And as I said, we can access that from that large rear door. So this particular vehicle, the Americans used it. We know the Jordanians used it. Now the Jordanians speak in Arabic. This one, when I first come in and started having a look at this vehicle, the crew box here for your intercommunication system actually has writing in Hebrew. Now, we know that the Israelis have got an M52 in their museum, so I believe that at some point in their conflict with the Arab-Israeli war, they've captured an M52 and they've trialled this vehicle and obviously they've got some Hebrew writing on some of their boxes. Engine sits at the front as opposed to the Bulldog at the rear. So this has the two different types of engines, the same as the Bulldog used, which was the AOS 8953, which was your dual carby engine at about 500 horsepower. And then you had the AOS 8955 engine. So AOS is air-cooled, opposed piston, supercharged engine. So it's a 6-cylinder supercharged petrol engine. The fuel tanks, left and right, holds close to 660 litres. So about 350 left and 310 right. Yeah, so that wraps up the M52. So if you've seen other vehicles in the background of our videos, please hit us up in the comments below and we'll endeavour to make videos on them.